Oh, sucker punch. You beautiful fucking bastards. Great fucking job. Now, before I get too into this video here, I want to get a few things out of the way right off the top. The editing for this is not going to be in the same manner that I do my other videos because I want to try to get these out more frequently than I normally would. Plus, I've been playing this game so much, I've been giving myself less time to work, so I definitely need to work on them faster. That and I'm going to be doing my script in a different format, i.e. it's going to be a list of notes and bullet points as opposed to a script. So I'm going to be talking to you more direct as opposed to writing down my thoughts ahead of time and then reading them out to you. So strap yourselves in. So pretty much as the title of this suggests, this is pretty much my day 5 review of Ghost of Tsushima Legends. I've been playing it since release. I've been recording pretty much everything since then. I've streamed a few times, so if you guys want to catch that, we'll put the links in the description below. Don't worry about it. But right now, we're going to go over what I know, what I like, what I don't like, pros, cons, highs, lows, ins, outs, all the tea. We're gonna drink all the tea. So let's say you've been living under a rock. You haven't seen or heard anything about Ghost of Tsushima, let alone Legends, and you haven't been watching any videos, including mine, in which case you need to go back and brush yourself up on this. But I'm gonna give you a quick rundown. Ghost of Tsushima is the multiplayer to the single player story game. It is 2-player co-op story, which has its own storyline, and it is 4-player co-op survival, which is far too much fun. One thing I do want to point out is these guys made it clear the reason for there being multiplayer when they're in their own storied universe. The initial single player Ghost of Tsushima is the telling of what people know of the legend, saying that there's only one ghost. Whereas here, our dear narrator Gyozin, aka Uncle Iroh, reveals to us that that is false. There is indeed more, many more. And that is where he begins to tell our tales as the Ghost of Tsushima. Now, if you played the single player, or if you are easily squeamish or kind of just turned away by gory stuff, this may not be exactly for you. If you're not familiar with a lot of the what I would call Eastern folklore, it gets pretty dark, and I mean like grim dark. Did my phone just go off? How dare you? These guys come out of the gate swinging with no remorse, and they're pretty much living up to the company name Sucker Punch. Again, respect you guys. Clap, clap, clap. They hit you with some story stuff that actually still kind of pulls on a few heartstrings. No pun intended. Don't say anything if you know what I'm talking about. Outside of that, let's just talk about the gameplay, which is, in my best description, white knuckle high octane combat, and I love it. Now, it is just as smooth as it was in the single player story mode, but now you have 1 to 3 other people playing with you, and that makes things a lot more epic depending on whose point of view you're looking at it from. I'd like to say that I called the whole arena thing when it came to the survival mode, but let's face it, we all knew it was coming out like that. There was no way it was going to be open world. My hopes were far too high, so I'd take my responsibility for that. The fact of that, though, does not take away from the gameplay. It is intense. You're not running away. As a matter of fact, you're doing the exact opposite. You are standing your ground and doing what I know as control with survival. There are 3 points on the map. You had to do your best to try to defend them between the 4 of y'all. Now, depending on the difficulty, you might have one person to each spot and one person floating, or 2 people playing the buddy system, guarding one spot, and in the middle, which I will call point B for the sake of ease, point B will be, jumped to by one of the teams, whoever cleared their area first, or everybody should, the occasion arise. It is rough. Again, no pun intended. But it is a hell of a time. It tests everything about you, especially when we start getting into the end game, which we will talk about later on. I promise I won't forget. First, I want to go over pros and cons to Ghost of Tsushima Legends. We're going to go over the good news first because I have so much love for good crafted art like this. I can't help but to go over this stuff. First and foremost, the skill tree. I call it the selection tree because I've played so many games where it's like, okay, when you pick this thing, you get these other things that go with it, and that's your group of skills. These guys just threw that out of the window, and they gave you a list of options within a few columns. You have this, you have this, you have this, and you have this. Within these columns, you have these options. What are you willing to sacrifice to turn this on or have this ability? Which I like that illusion of selection, really. And I'm gonna call it illusion because when you really think about it, it's not like you can go in and say, oh, I want to use any of these 3, or I want to use all 3 in this row here, and that's it. No, you are still limited because, let's face it, you can't allow everybody to walk around to be completely OP in one way or another. There's got to be some type of limitation. That's why I called it the illusion of selection or illusion of choice. But you still have at least some option to attempt to make your character as OP as you can for your gameplay. And in my mind, that is a great balance. They found it where other people kind of fell off, and I commend them for that. The other thing I want to touch on is the learning curve. It is not too punishing learning this game. I thought coming in for a complete cold player starting on day 1 in Tsushima Legends was going to be brutal. That didn't seem to be entirely the case. They made it so that even the most novice a player, even if you've never played this type of game before, you can come in and figure it out in a decent amount of time, and the difficulty goes up kind of with you. That's kind of how it seems. They set it up in a manner to where you go up with the difficulty, not the difficulty going up with you. And I'm not saying this from experience. I'm saying this from observation of my friend who I brought in with me. He probably doesn't know this, but he'll find out when he watches this video. I paid close attention to him. I monitored him more than anybody else, and I did my best not to make it clear at all. I think I passed. But he did great. He's still doing great. He's getting it together, and you guys didn't kick him below the belt for being new. Great job there. The builds with this game are something to to just smile at in my mind. The gear is pretty much open across all characters, minus a few select, I think they're all legendary items that could be character specific. There are a few rare items that are also character specific. I'm sorry, not character specific. Not all characters will be able to use them. I think smoke bombs, not smoke bombs, what, sticky bombs. That's what it is. Sticky bombs can be used by, I think, everybody but the assassins. But there is a perk on sticky bombs that says assassins unlock. So if you manage to get sticky bombs with that perk, you can then allow your assassin to use sticky bombs. Whereas otherwise, he'll have to use kunai or a bow or smoke bombs. Correction, it's blow dart, not smoke bombs. Smoke bombs are in a different category. Aesthetics. I am huge on aesthetics. You probably noticed if you've been following me long enough. You guys have gotten an S plus in my book for aesthetics. You can make your character look amazing for your play. The mobility, God, English today. The mobility is on par with what I say would be with Warframe, minus the bullet jump. Unless ninjas have something like that. I haven't used my ninja yet, so I don't know. I've been stuck on Ronin. Fucking love that class. But the mobility is great. The grappling hook is still something that I try not to scream out whenever I use it, because who doesn't like gravity falls? But it is made getting around the map pretty much a breeze. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to make these puns, but they're just flowing today. The classes and the abilities make the character feel like the most powerful being, in the world, which pretty much is the case, or at least that's what the story is telling. And they do a really good job at making you feel that. So there's a lot of times I've gone into something just in my mind already knowing I'm going to lay everything to waste. Bear in mind, you are still leveling up. You are not the most powerful thing in the world, but you feel it, and you feel it deep in your bones. Our commentator, Gyozin, who I continue to call Uncle Iroh, also adds to that, because when you do something, let's say epic enough, or get enough kills, he will come in and will say something about it. Because as we're doing this, if you pay attention to his commentary, he's basically telling the story as we are unfolding it. So he's going to speak on that. You get a kill from above, he will say death rained from the skies. If you assassinate somebody, he will say something like the enemy fell without a sound. If you snipe somebody in the face, he's gonna say the ghost rained death from afar. His voice, his commentary couldn't be more perfect. You know what's not perfect? What's never perfect? Server connections. Of course, this is their first attempt at multiplayer with this game, so there are still some kinks that need to be worked out. So you have things like rubber banding enemies. You'll see somebody in front of you, they'll either teleport back or teleport beyond where you just saw them. So there have been several times where I went to go swing at someone, or I tried to hit them with a bomb and they vanished just without a trace. The other things that I've noticed that really trigger me, I'm actually trying not to be triggered just thinking about it, is assassinations themselves. They don't always register, especially, death from above. If someone is interacting with that enemy, whether they're killing them or just fighting them, and you're trying to do a death from above is what I call it, it may not always go through. Sometimes it goes through late. Most times it doesn't go through at all. Same things with regular assassinations. I went to go assassinate somebody from the bushes. I did the entire animation, everything. And when you're doing an animation, you're locked into it until that animation is done. Whether it be death from above, a ground assassination, or the finishing blow on an enemy. If they teleport out of that, rubber band through it, or whatever the case, you're stuck in that animation until you are done, which means you are open to damage. That could be literally the difference between life and death in a lot of these situations, especially when you get to the end game where there's a lot of stuff that will just one-shot you if you don't have enough defense. Well, reset and try again. One thing that my brother and I really came across was just the server connection in general. We get the message saying that your connection to the server is lost or whatever the case. He actually seen it more than I have. They do have that in their spotlight right now, and that is in the works. They say there's an update coming to address this. So I'm not going to speak too much on it. We'll wait for this update and see if it actually is touched up on. Outside of that, the only other gripe that I have would be, dead enemies not looking dead. Yeah, yeah. I'm giving you time to think about that one. Sometimes enemies will, be slain, assassinated, whatever the case. They're dead, but they're still on their feet. I've had enemies actually die, drop their weapon, and then put their hand up and look around as if they were trying to find where the pearly gates were. And that's very confusing to me, because if you're on your feet and you're not one of my allies, that means you need to be put down. You cannot kill what's already dead. That's why we're ghosts. But it's annoying. It's bothersome, and it's actually, to me, a big distraction, because I could be using that time actually chasing down someone who, isn't mock alive, or running to the next zone to stop the enemy from capping it. I lied. I do have one last gripe, and that's just it's a personal gripe, because I wish I could do more with my customization as far as the outfits go. It's nice that they have it set up to where you can select your mask, your hat, and your overall clothing. I kind of wish I could do more. The thing about that is, right now, I think if they were to try to separate the shirts from the pants, it would be a little bit janky. But that's kind of what I'm hoping we could do, is separate the shirt, the pants. I don't know if we'd be able to do the gloves and shoes, but if we could do that too, that would be great. I want to be able to fully customize how my character looks from top to bottom myself, and really put together an outfit that is my taste. Normally, if I have a gripe about something, I try to do my best to come up with a solution to the problem. But the problems that I'm seeing here aren't really something that I would have a solution for. That's something that's, kinks that got to be ironed out, desires for customization. It's not like I could say, hey, separate this stuff so that we can do this. Of course, there's more than just me who wants to do it. When you think you're the only one, trust me, you're not. But it's not like I can have an answer for it. So this is one of those situations where it's like, I wish we could have this. I hope they do it, but we got to sit back and wait and see what's coming down the road. So I'm going to be patient as far as that goes. So now that we're out of our feels, you guys ready to have a nightmare? Because that's our end game. Nightmare story, nightmare survival. I really have a goal to complete Nightmare Story, and sadly, I have yet to even attempt to complete that goal, because I fucked up and went into Nightmare Survival first. That is the most fun and challenging stuff I have ever played in my life. I played Destiny 1, Destiny 2. I've played Warframe all the way up to the top tier. I've played Final Fantasy Savage Trials. I've played I always forget the name of this damn game. For Honor, like against other players, which is probably like beyond S tier. Okay, I've played Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 on the highest difficulty. This doesn't take all that. It takes all that, looks at it, and says, "Puny mortals," as it pokes it in the eye while it's holding their head in its hand. Nightmare. Now, I'm not just talking about the difficulty, because when we're talking about pure difficulty, Dark Souls has that hands down. But when we're talking about the difficulty and fun factor, Dark Souls feels more like punishment. Demon Souls feels more like a chore. Final Fantasy feels like it's everyone else's fault. Destiny feels wrong when it's that damn hard, but it is. These guys have taken that and said, let's make it as fun as possible. In my opinion, you cannot have more fun doing harder content. They have said, if you're playing this, there's a reason why you're playing this. You want to go to war. Here is your battlefield. Here is your objective. Complete it. By the way, you're going to die. So when you go in there with that mindset, like, yeah, I'm gonna kiss the ground a few times, it's not as infuriating. Which a lot of people definitely had that feeling. It was just complete rage. But when you put that aside and you're just playing the game, it is so much fun. Even if you don't complete it, as long as you hit those few thresholds between the start and the finish line, you are still rewarded. So it's not like a total loss. But I can't get over just how fun this game truly is, even at the highest difficulty. My first time stepping into a nightmare, I went in there with what we call Rudies. Shout out to Smoke. And it was rough. I think we made it to about wave 4 out of 25. My first 3 attempts in there with random people. My 4th attempt with a group of Rudies. There was 3 Ronin and a Samurai, and we made it to what was it, wave 20, somewhere around wave 20. We were whooping ass. We were holding it down. We were moving. We were grooving. We were we were making it happen. But it challenges you. It puts you up against enemies you probably won't find anywhere else outside of like the Nightmare story and maybe the raid. This stuff will test every aspect of you and your character, your gear, your loadout, your reflexes, your attentiveness, your just overall skill. Everything that can be tested will be tested in Nightmare, and it lives up to the name. Good job. Good job. I think my brother Heavy put it best when he said he got bit by the Nightmare bug and now he needs his fix. No better phrase could be used for this game mode. You guys have made something entirely addicting. It could be just because it's a new game, but I see myself playing this for quite some time. The only thing that competes in the level of addictiveness to me is Final Fantasy XIV. And I've played that game for a long time. So, yeah. That and Destiny. Can't discount Destiny. Those are the only 2 games I've really been like truly addicted to playing. And now Ghost of Tsushima instantly is a part of that group. So, all in all, when it comes down to the come down, if you were thinking about getting Ghost of Tsushima, haven't heard it, just want to try something new, or if this just looks appealing to you for any reason at all, you feel like you want to give this game a try, I say go for it. It's worth it. If you can find you a nice group of people to roll with, that makes it even better. But the community here so far has been awesome. There's gonna be a few people here and there who just seem like they're off in their own world, and they just might be. They're not really, from my experience, toxic, but you can definitely tell the friendly people when you see them. There's a lot of flute playing. There's a lot of bowing when somebody recognizes the shit you're doing on the battlefield. You do not go unnoticed. You work your way up, you become true legend, you will be recognized. It's a great feeling. It's a great time. It's a great game. Pick it up, check it out, and I'll see you guys on the shores of Tsushima.